thought we would do the All About My Eyeshadows palette tag part 2, which was a tag that was started by Allie, Glines and Samantha March. I will have their channels linked down below in the description box for you. I also have part 1 of this eyeshadow tag up on my channel, so I will try and remember to link that down in the description box as well for you, as well as all the palettes that I talk about. Allie, Glines and Samantha March are the most amazing YouTubers. If you have not subscribed to them or watched them already, I highly recommend them. They are truly such beautiful people. You can just truly see that they are in this for the love of makeup, and I love their channels. Essentially, these tags are just a heap of different questions talking about your eyeshadow palettes, and you know that if there is one thing I love about makeup, it is an eyeshadow palette. So let's go ahead and get started. You know, before we do, let's do the YouTubey things. Go ahead and give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and let's get into it. There are 11 questions in total, and honestly, doing these, I don't know why I do this to myself. These kinds of videos stress me out because I honestly love every single one of my eyeshadow palettes, like, intensely. Abnormally so, probably. So I really just, like, I feel bad just picking one for some of these questions, etc. But anyway, just know I love all my eyeshadow palettes, okay? And this is very hard for me. Anyway, the first question is my all-time favorite eyeshadow palette. And I want to be one of those people that's like, I literally don't have one. And I really kind of don't have an all-time favorite. However, if you hold my feet to the fire and make me pick one, I guess I will pick this one, but just know it's only winning by like a hair, okay? I want to pick all of them. But this one is the Pat McGrath Labs Divine Rose 1 palette. I just think this palette has everything I possibly need. I mean, one, you knew it was going to be a Pat McGrath palette anyway, let's be real here. But if we're talking in terms of Pat McGrath palettes, I think this one for like my all-time favorite has probably got to be it, just because it has the tones that I love to wear on the everyday. Like, if this was the only eyeshadow palette I owned, I'd pretty much be kind of content forever, because I love cool tones, but I also really love these like really neutral cool tony purples. I love a rose gold. If I'm gonna wear a gold, I like this kind of cool tone, like pale yellow gold. I love a bronze. It has like a transition shade and a deepening shade. It has some glitter, and it has a duochrome pink. So it really just has everything I could ever need really in an eyeshadow palette. So I guess I would have to pick this one. Number 2 is a new Fave palette to your collection, and it has got to be Pat McGrath Cross Bridgerton Diamond of the First Water palette. I really didn't expect to love this particular palette as much as I do, I have to tell you. We all know I'm obsessed with Pat McGrath Labs around here, okay? That's not a secret. But when I saw this, one of the bigger reasons that I picked this up was because Pat's my favorite brand. Bridgerton is like one of my favorite TV shows. They had a baby and I was all here for it regardless of what it looked like. But I have to admit, when I first saw the color story, I was like, look, I think it's really pretty. I like it. I'll get use out of it, but it doesn't like blow me away in terms of like innovation of color schemes, if you will. However, picking this palette up and playing with it is what turned me around to be like, this is such a gorgeous palette, and truly is one of like my favorite palettes in my collection, because the quality of this palette is where it's at. It's so good. It is so good. The matte in here is amazing. The metallics are amazing. I love this color. I love it. It is like pretty much the perfect metallic shade in my whole collection. This is a astral shade. I love a good astral shade. And these two right here, this satin matte formula she has, I need more of them. Okay, Pat? I need more satin mattes because they are perfection, pure perfection. And I want them in like every shade, okay? But yeah, it's the quality of this palette that really turned me around to just being kind of obsessed with it, if I'm honest. Number 3 is a palette I keep for the memories, and I do have 2, and I'll explain why. So the first one I'm just going to explain is definitely Tiny Marbles from Sydney Grace Cross our beautiful Mel Thompson. I think we all miss Mel. I think we can all just say that. If you watched her, she was such a pleasure and a joy to watch, and we are so lucky to even have had her for any period of time. And I just will never get rid of this palette, ever. I just will never, because it's just, I'm so grateful that I do have this palette. And then the next one is just this really random Smashbox Ablaze palette. This is from a Christmas set in 2017, and I will never get rid of this. I have had it since then. The quality is definitely not the same, but I will never get rid of it. I don't even like the packaging. I think this is ugly. I love the color story. The color story is gorgeous. But I will never get rid of this because I picked this up in America on me and my fiance's first trip to America. Like I'd been before, but it was our first time going together. And I picked this up on one of the first days in the Christmas set, and I used this palette the entire time on that trip. And I just have the fondest memories of this eyeshadow palette. I think this was in my original tag video as well, but it's just every time I look at this palette, it takes me back to all of the times that we had during that trip, and it was just such a special trip, and I will forever keep this. Number 4 is an eyeshadow palette that is underrated. This eyeshadow palette is honestly so high up in my collection. I do have a video, by the way, as a side note, of me ranking all of the eyeshadow palettes I tried in 2021, so I'll try and remember to link that down below for you as well if you kind of want to know where these sit in the scheme of things. But this palette is so high up in my collection. I truly adore it. The quality is second to none. It's amazing. But it is the kind of palette that is perfect for every single day. And I just really haven't heard people hype this palette up at all. Like, it kind of came and went really quietly, at least from what I can see. You guys let me know if I'm wrong. Anyway, it is the Charlotte Tilbury Smoky Eyes Are Forever eyeshadow palette. So I know that a few people probably didn't pick this up because it doesn't look super innovative in terms of like a color scheme. Probably looks like a lot that you already own. I don't have any Charlotte Tilbury eyeshadows at all. So this was my first time trying her formula. So I felt really comfortable picking this up and not getting any dupes or anything like that. But I have to tell you, the quality of this palette is insane. Insane. The mattes are so incredibly buttery and blendable and pigmented and just really high quality mattes, and the metallics are the same, and you have these like true metallic kind of formulas where they're really that opaque metallic formula, and then you kind of have these like more like toppery glittery shades. I mean, they're still quite opaque, but they have like this like shift to them, and I don't know, it's gorgeous. But it's really a good palette for like the everyday. You can create so many different types of looks, like a softer look, a more sultry look, a smoky look, like a full-blown glam, like whatever it is, you can really create it with this palette. You don't really need much more than this palette, to be completely honest with you. So yeah, I really think this palette is underrated, and I think a lot of people skipped it thinking that it's just nothing new or original, but I don't know, I highly recommend it. I would say an honorable mention to the Lunar Beauty Eternal Eclipse palette as well. I think that's severely underrated as well. Number 5 is a palette that's not a fave, but you just can't seem to get rid of it. This one is such a random one for me, and I don't know why I can't bring myself to get rid of this, but it's the Too Faced Gingerbread Spice palette. So this came out 2018. I'm pretty sure it was 2018. It's the original gingerbread one. And it's the only Too Faced eyeshadow palette that I have ever tried. I haven't tried any other Too Faced eyeshadow palette. I got suckered in because of this pink. It was like, again, I purchased this on a trip to America with my mum like the following year after I went with my partner, and I just really like was in Sephora in America and just got really hyped up and was like, okay, I'll just get it. And I hate it. Like, I actually really don't like this palette. I think the quality sucks. The color story is beautiful, like it truly is, but I just think that the quality really sucks of this palette. I never used it ever. I think the last time I used it was maybe 2 years ago. So I should just declutter it, but for some reason I can't. I have done multiple declutters even on my channel, but even outside of my channel, and this has survived every single declutter. I don't know why. I don't know why, but I keep it. I can't tell you, but I can't bring myself to get rid of it. Number 6, what is your favorite collab palette? My favorite, it has absolutely, I actually was looking at my collection, I only own 2. I don't buy a lot of collaboration palettes, I don't know why. Maybe my favorite YouTubers haven't really done any, I'm not sure. Anyway, but this is hands down my favorite collab palette. I wish they would make this permanent so badly. I understand why they can't, but I want them to make it permanent. It is the Club Nebula Cross Angie Nyquist Club Nebula palette. This is insane. This palette is insane. It is the best quality around. I love this palette. I think that this palette deserves to be permanent. It deserves to have its moment at all times. The quality, and the color story. Look at this color story. I know it's not super neutral and everyday friendly, but if you know Angie Nyquist, sorry, she's not going to create a palette that's not colorful. She loves colorful makeup, but she freaking nailed it because these metallics are mind-blowingly insane. Like they're like these neon toppery kind of magical fairy metallic shades, and they are insanely beautiful. These colors right here are just, they're amazing. I love a good green. I mean, don't get me, like if it's a green, I'm like blown away. I'm like, they're amazing because it's green, but it's so hard to get the formulation, I find, of greens really, especially like these lighter ones, to be like a really good pigmented quality where it doesn't just blend away to nothing. And she has just nailed it. It's a colorful palette, but it's so unique. And that's what I love about it. And I just, yeah, I love it. I need to use it more than I actually do, but I just love it so much. Next up is my favorite palette from 2021. You guys already know this if you checked out my palette ranking video. It's Celestial Odyssey from Pat McGrath. I adore this palette. It's amazing. The quality is amazing. I did see a couple of you, I think, or a YouTuber or something, say that the quality is not amazing. I'm not sure what's different between my palette and others, but I find the quality of this palette so good. I really, truly do. But the bigger picture for me is more the color story. Like, hello, this green is insane. I love this silver. I love this purple. This is like a duochrome. It's gorgeous. I love the orange. I love the blue. I just love everything about this palette. It's so good. I love how big it is. I love a big palette. I don't know. This palette is just amazing to me, and honestly it would be really close to being just my all-time favorite palette as well, with Divine Rose 1. Like, this might even beat it nearly if I really push came to shove. Yeah, I love Celestial Odyssey. Number 8, a palette that I didn't expect to love. I have a few of these in my collection, but it's got to be this one. I picked up this palette because I really wanted to finish my collection of them, and because so many of you kept commenting on my videos telling me to get it until I caved. And my gosh, am I so glad that you did and I caved, because I adore this palette. Decadence, that's right. Pat McGrath Labs Decadence. Literally the last mothership I ever collected. I have videos of me on my channel being like, I will never pick up Decadence. I will never pick it up. It's not a color story I like. It's got no special shades. Why would I pick it up? And here I am eating my words, because this is one of my all-time favorite mothership palettes. And it's the color story of all things. What threw me off originally was the blue, the red, and this blue. And this gold. I don't love those shades a whole lot. I just don't wear them in my everyday. But this shade, this shade, this shade, this shade, and this shade are that impeccable, and they are shades that I wear nearly every day. So overall, this palette, it makes it worth it for me. And honestly, like every now and then I will dip into these, let's be real. But it's just so good. The metallic formula is just so good. The colors are so good. Like, it's just amazing. And I just am so glad that so many of you kept pressuring me to pick this palette up, because it truly is one of my favorite palettes in her collection. Number 9, a palette that sparks joy. So I guess a little bit of a random one, but this palette really does just create some fun for me when I use it, and is the ABH Norvina Volume 5 palette. Also a one that I didn't expect to love, never planned on picking up because it's so purple. And even though I love a cool tone like sultry purple, I don't usually love a bright purple like this, but everyone kept talking about the quality of this palette, and I just got utter FOMO and picked it up. And I'm so glad I did, because it is so much fun to use. It is so much fun to use. The quality is insane, especially for a purple. Purples are so hard to formulate, but it just brings me so much joy and so much fun to use. I love the colors. Like, some of them in here are just so slightly unique that it is just amazing and fun to use, and fun to create so many different looks with it. So yeah, again, also another palette that I don't think gets the hype it deserves, because it is really good. 2 questions to go. So the next one is the newest palette in my collection. Now, I didn't purchase this particular palette myself. I did receive it as a gift for my birthday. If we're talking about palettes that I physically purchased with my own money, it would be the Pat McGrath Labs Cross Bridgerton collection palette. However, this one is actually the newest palette in my collection, and it is the Tom Ford Nude Dip Eyeshadow Quad. So this is what it looks like right here. I got this as a birthday present from my fiance a couple of weeks ago, because he always buys me like Tom Ford or very like high-end luxury makeup for my birthday, which I am beyond grateful for, because he knows that I wouldn't like necessarily buy like this for myself. I really wouldn't. Like if I purchase something from Tom Ford, I've thought about it for a very, very long time and saved for it for a very, very long time because it is so expensive for just like one piece of makeup. However, am I so glad he did purchase this for me because this is stunning. So I love this palette. I've actually worn this palette so often on the everyday. I try and post my like makeup of the day photos a lot on my Instagram stories for you guys because I don't always get time to do like little tutorials and stuff on Instagram, but I try and at least post like the eyeshadow palette and the lipstick I'm wearing on most days so that you guys can just like see and maybe get some inspo. So if you want to see like my makeup on the everyday when I'm not on YouTube, definitely follow me over there. But I have been posting this a lot because I've been wearing it. What I've been doing even is just throwing like my bronzer through the crease and then popping one of these 3 shades over the lid and then using this one to like deepen it up a little bit, and like Bob's your uncle, it's perfection. It really is a gorgeous everyday kind of subtle eyeshadow quad and I am here for it. I have really been impressed with the Tom Ford palettes I've tried so far. I've only tried this one and the Lava Luster from the Badass like limited edition collection, but I honestly really like them. Has he like turned me into a like super high-end luxury gremlin where I want to collect all of them? Yeah, he has. Am I going to? Maybe one day, but it's going to take a really long time. And the last question is the very first palette that I used in 2022, and it is the Natasha Denona Trio Chrome palette. So I got this palette for Christmas, again from my fiance, but I didn't actually get a chance to film with it or try it until this year. And it was definitely the first, I think it was like just January 1st, I was like filming with this because I couldn't wait to use it. I love this. This was another palette that it's been on my wish list for a really, really, really long time, but just couldn't seem to justify paying the 200 and I think they're 230 in Australian dollars, these palettes, like the bigger ones. And just because it's not like, when I looked at it originally, I was like, oh, that's not really everyday. It's very colorful. I'm really not going to wear it. I can't justify spending that much money on it. However, I don't know what happened. I just kept getting like drawn back into it and it was on my wish list for a really long time. And then on Black Friday last year, it went on sale for like $100 at Sephora, and so I like texted it to my fiance and I was like, if you haven't got my Christmas present, can I have this? And you know, he's amazing and he picked it up for me. But yeah, it is so good and I am so happy to have this in my collection. I know it's limited edition. I think you can still get some around, so if you have your eyes on it, I do highly recommend picking it up if you can and not missing out, just because it is really cool, like beautiful. These colors as well, they perform so well. I wasn't expecting them to for some reason, but they really do. And when you actually get it, like if you just kind of take out the kind of pops of color that there are, it's actually very, very wearable on the everyday. So yeah, I really recommend this. It's really, really good quality and I love, love, love the color story of it. So that wraps up part 2 of the eyeshadow palette tag. Thank you to Allie Glines and Samantha Marsh for creating such a wonderful and fun video for us all. I'm probably super late off on this trend, I usually am, but I had a lot of fun doing it. I always have fun kind of picking through my collection and thinking of questions like these and coming up with the answers. Let me know some of your answers to these questions below. What is your all-time favorite palette, period? And good luck picking, because I had to do it, now you have to. Now, if you're watching till this point, I truly appreciate you. Thank you so much. Please don't forget to give the video a thumbs up, subscribe, hit that notification bell. I hope you have an amazing day wherever you are in the world, and I will see you next time. Bye!